Right, okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Hackney Council's Planning Subcommittee meeting. My name is Councillor Steve Race, and I'll be chairing this evening's meeting. The meeting will be recorded and has been live streamed on YouTube. Councillors taking part in voting this evening are present here in the chamber. If any councillors are joining the meeting remotely, they do so as an observer, and they will not be able to participate in the discussion or the vote for any planning application on the agenda. The capacity of the council chamber is back to its maximum, including the public gallery, and I welcome all residents, if there are any here, who are here to participate or to observe the proceedings, and welcome to any following us online too. For those participating in the meeting remotely via Google Meets, the virtual meeting technology does have a chat function. However, please only use this to raise IT related issues. As chair of the subcommittee, I will not be monitoring it. In the event of an internet outage, we will adjourn the meeting, then come back and start again. I want to first introduce the members of the Planning Committee as follows. We have Councillor Sarah Young, we have Councillor Jess Webb, who's the Vice Chair, Councillor Ali Sadek, Councillor Claire Potter, we have Councillor Michael Levy and Councillor Claire Joseph. So welcome to those of you attending this committee, and welcome to our, next I'll introduce the council officers present in the chamber. We've got Graham Callum, who's the Growth Team Manager. We have John Sang to my left, Development Management and Enforcement Manager, Catherine Slade, Planning Officer, Danny Hoover, Planning Officer, and Sam Woodhead, Planning Legal Officer. We have Gareth Sykes to my right, who's the Governance Officer. Some of you present in the room would have been in contact with the Governance Officer in advance of this meeting to register to speak. Objectors to the applications and representatives for the applicant are not present in the room, actually, because I don't think we have any objectors to any of the applications tonight. Before we continue, I just want to briefly outline how this meeting will proceed. We'll hear each planning application in turn, summarised by the planning officer. We'll then hear a 5-minute statement from any objectors, followed by a 5-minute statement from any applicant who wishes to speak. If there's more than one speaker from an applicant or an objector, they'll have to agree amongst themselves beforehand how they'll split that 5-minute speaking time. I believe this evening that the applicants are only here to answer questions, so they won't be using their 5 minutes either. Members of the Planning Subcommittee will then be free to ask questions of the Planning Officer, objectors, or the applicant. It's my role as Chair of the Planning Subcommittee to ensure that members have all the information they need to make a decision, then objectors and applicants have the opportunity to set out their case, and that the meeting runs properly. I will not be taking any contributions from the floor. This is a meeting in public, not a public meeting. You must have given notice to the Governance Officer before the meeting in order to be able to speak. The deadline for registering to speak was 4 p.m. yesterday, and the speakers list is now closed. Subcommittee members are not representing either their wards or their political parties. The subcommittee will make its decisions on the basis of site visits they've made, what we've read in the published application report, and of course what we hear this evening. We must make any decision on an application in accordance with the Council's development plan, including Council's local plan LP33 and the London Plan 2021, unless relevant material planning considerations indicate otherwise. Can I emphasise that subcommittee members should not take into account or discuss non-material planning matters? When taking a decision, members should not have allowed themselves to prejudge any application prior to this meeting. Similarly, if a member has any interest relating to an application on the meeting agenda, they must consider whether that interest ought to be disclosed, and where appropriate, they must withdraw from the meeting while that application is discussed and voted upon. When we've finished our deliberations on a planning application on the agenda, we'll vote on the recommendation as set out in the published application report. When the decision is made, that is normally the end of the matter for this subcommittee. The applicant may appeal their decision, and objectors may seek legal redress. I advise you to seek legal advice in either case. And then finally, depending on how the meeting this evening progresses, we'll take a short break at 8 p.m. We'll now go to the published meeting agenda, beginning with apologies for absence. And I think we've got apologies from Councillor Narcos and Councillor Loadoff-Scott.
That's correct, Chair, and we have no one who is running late.
Great, thank you very much. And do we have any apologies for lateness? No, sorry, you just said that. Sorry, but we do have Councillor Michael Levy who's joined us. So welcome, Councillor Levy. Declarations of interest from any of the committee members? No. Okay, in that case, I don't think there are any proposals or questions referred to the committee. We do, however, have some minutes of the previous meeting to approve. Those are the minutes for the 7th of September. Is the committee happy to approve those minutes? Sorry, Councillor Levy, you've got you're happy? Great, okay, fantastic. So they are approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
In that case, we go to, I believe, Danny with item 5. Southall
Before we commence,
Road.
John, if you would like,
Nice, thank you very
please.
much.
Thank you very much.
Total darkness.
Good evening. My name's Danny Huber. I'm a planning officer in the Central Area team. I'm presenting item 545 Southwold Road. And this is a proposal for the conversion of the first floor community meeting rooms to a residential unit and the provision of cycle store to the front elevation at ground floor level. The site is located in the Leabridge ward and it is not located in a conservation area, does not contain any listed buildings. The closest conservation area is Leabridge, located to the south of the site. The surrounding area is characterised by residential buildings in a range of scales and sizes. The site consists of a 2-storey end of terrace property in use as a residential flat on the ground floor with a community meeting room on the first floor. The walls are faced with white render and the roof is hit with slate tiling. There is a shared entrance for the ground and first floors to the Southwold Road elevation. This core is shared by 4 properties, 2 to the left and 2 to the right of the entrance. The permitted use of the first floor of the property, dating from 1997, is for the use as a tenant association community meeting room and office. Prior to the 1997 change of use, the site was used as a flat and the layout remains unaltered. It is therefore capable of conversion back to a residential unit without any further internal alteration. As you can see from the proposed layout, very few internal alterations are proposed or required. The only external alteration proposed is the erection of a cycle store to the front elevation. This is for the communal use of both the ground and first floor flats, as there is already common access to the front garden from an existing side gate. The case is being brought to committee as it is a council-owned property and a change of use. There has also been one objection. The objection is in regard to the loss of the community meeting room and also the position of the cycle store in relation to parking. These objections have been addressed within the report. The proposal for the conversion of the first floor community meeting rooms to a residential unit and the provision of cycle store to the front would result in the reversion to the original intended use of the premises and would provide a much needed affordable housing unit. The application is therefore recommended for granting of planning permission subject to conditions. A Section 106 agreement will also be entered into, which secures the development as car-free and the provision of on-site affordable housing in perpetuity. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And then we have, as I mentioned previously, we've got no one objecting. In terms of, sorry, where am I? We've got no one objecting. And then to answer questions, do we have Graham? And so we've got Graham, thank you, and Sarah to answer any questions for us. So Graham is, could you introduce yourself, sorry?
Yeah, I'm Graham Allison from Montague Evans, planning consultant.
Planning consultant, great, thank you. And then.
And I'm Shara Koulay. I'm the head of resident participation, TMOs and communities in housing services.
Great, thank you very much. So committee questions, great. So we've got Councillor Potter and then we have Councillor Joseph. So Councillor Potter. Microphone please, Councillor Potter, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I noticed in the report that there was a TRA, but that kind of finished around the time that COVID started. Now I am, obviously COVID was something that disrupted quite a lot of people and it's taken people a couple of years to get going again. Is there any idea that the TRA is thinking of getting going again? And have you actually sought feedback from those people directly?
I think just before we answer that, it might be sort of more useful, in fact, to talk about any other community space. So obviously this is community space being sort of reconverted to a flat, and so that would be loss of community space. So is there other community space in the vicinity as well? Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think there are probably 3 questions. The first, in terms of the TRA, I think we do recognise that they have taken quite a while to get going in some cases, but the particular TRA we've got there remains registered and they have indicated they'd like to get going again. I think the critical point is that there is another community facility which is completely accessible within 182 metres of the space. So I think, you know, the decision here would not actually, if we give consent or you give consent, it's not going to actually impede their ability to meet in any way. And we have informed them, we wrote to them and outlined the details of the proposal and why we were doing it, and we didn't get a response to that.
Great, thank you, Councillor Potter. Councillor Joseph?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. So obviously I acknowledge that there is an alternative space, which is good. However, obviously, as the report says, you know, ordinarily, if we're losing community space, it does need to be advertised for a year and we need to be re-providing. So considering we're not doing either of those things, I'm very keen to know, particularly it's affordable housing, but can we be specific? Are we losing this community space to get a council flat, or is it going to be something a lot more expensive? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will be ensuring that this flat becomes, if it becomes an affordable unit, will go through the council's letting policy, and through that lettings policy it will go to the household most in need. So it will be allocated strictly in line with need, and it will be used for social housing. It will not be used for any other form of housing.
Thanks very much. Councillor Desmond and Councillor Young?
I know this location well, and I think this is a very good application. It's nice to see good use of space and more social housing. Just one clarification, the applicant is London Borough of Hackney. We're here actually in the London Borough of Hackney. So the Section 106 agreement, any arrangement under that, would that be financial, that it goes from the housing revenue account to the council's general fund? Could an officer explain what the Section 106 logistics are in a particular situation like this?
Hello, I'm Shona Carr, the team leader for the central area. So the Section 106 itself isn't securing any financial contributions in this instance. It's just to secure the unit as car-free and to secure the affordable housing as affordable housing in perpetuity. So there isn't any financial contributions.
Great, thank you. Councillor Young?
Sorry, my question is actually answered in the documents. I was just looking at where the next nearest community hall is, but I can see.
Thank you. Yeah, Councillor Joseph?
Thank you. Sorry, I just wanted to check, can they use the other community hall for free?
Yes, that will be something that we will give. I mean, we say to all TRAs that we'll provide them with meeting space at no cost from participation budget, so cost will not be an issue.
Yep. Go ahead, Councillor Potter.
So it seems to be, from my perspective, a win, and win. The TRA is going to access a more accessible space, which will widen the participation potentially for residents, and we're going to get another social housing unit, which is what we desperately need. Thanks.
Councillor Sadek?
I just wondered whether you'd considered having the property as a two-bed, given there is a space for study, and I wondered what it was previously when it was residential before becoming a meeting room. It's coming up as a one-bed property for two persons. I just wondered, given that there is a study in the floor plan, had you considered using it as a two-bed, given that, you know, that could accommodate more people?
I think the London plan sets out minimum space standards for a two-bed, and the unit is below that, so it would only be used as a one-bed, two-person.
Great. Any other questions? No, just one from me in terms of the cycle parking at the front. Can you just set out what specific cycle infrastructure is going in? Thank you. I think that's who am I asking that of?
Yeah, it's proposed as a cycle locker to house 3 bicycles, which is compliant with the London Plan guidelines.
Great, thank you very much. Any other questions on this one? No, okay, in that case, let's move to a vote. So all of those in favour, please put your hands up. Thank you very much. That's unanimous in that case. We don't need to go on. And so that is, remind me what I have to say. So planning permission granted subject to the following conditions. So I should have said that first.
Yep.
But we're done. Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, we're okay. So on to the
Okay.
next one.
Thank you very much for that to the officers. Right, so we have Catherine up next, I think, for the Portico City Learning Centre on Linscott Road. I could do the lights, John, thank you.
I'm not sure. David, do you want to stay there or perhaps move over to where Graham and Sarah was? Up to you.
I'll work it out, David,
Yeah,
don't
okay.
worry, you can stay there.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. The application before you is for the Portico building in just off of the Lower Clapton Road. Planning permission and listed building consent were granted fairly recently, within the last 6 months, for its conversion from an education facility to a health centre, together with associated extensions and alterations. The committee, in reaching their decision, chose to request that some conditions attached to the various consents be re-reported back to the committee for consideration, and one of those is before you. It's condition 16 attached to the listed building consent, which relates to a structural survey of the building to ensure that the works proposed will maintain its structural integrity. A report has been provided. I'm sorry this isn't very clear. It was much clearer on my laptop, but there should be a copy in the report, attached to the report. Essentially, to summarise, investigative works were undertaken earlier in the year. They concluded that very minimal interventions were required due to the loading requirements and the impact on the crypt, which is a subterranean, main subterranean structure, would be acceptable. Subsequent to that, there was further work done to the southern colonnade, and additional interventions have been undertaken, which include underpinning and the bricking up of these arches to prevent the load being taken by the original structure. So the interventions are summarised in the 2 documents that have been provided, attached to the report and the addendum report, and the conclusion is that they adequately demonstrate that the building, which is currently on the Heritage at Risk Register, will not further deteriorate as a result of the works, and that they can be implemented without harm to the building. And I believe that the structural engineer is available online to answer any technical questions, and we also have one of our conservation officers here. But the details have been reviewed and found to be acceptable.
Great, thank you very much. And so we had no objectors. We've got, I believe, David here to answer questions, who is Senior Asset Manager for London Borough of Hackney, is that right? Yep, for the Corporate Property and Asset Management. And I believe we have, do we have Theodore? We do have Theodore online as well, who is Director with KPT Design. So we might just need to, I might need to be directed if there are questions for Theodore. So essentially, this is just one of the conditions is the report that we asked for to come back to make sure that this can all be done without the thing falling over, basically, or having any damage caused to it. It's nice to have some Doric architecture brought to us. I prefer the Ionic myself, but any questions from the committee? Yeah, Councillor Potter.
Only a quick question to say, this is great to have this detailed report so that we can feel much more confident that you are going to ensure, you know, that the building does retain its structure. I wondered how much liaison is going to be in terms of monitoring the progress of the works to ensure that things happen as you hope they will.
So Obviously, the technical detail of this was monitored by the structural engineers, and that's why we're here today. In terms of the council's oversight, we have monthly site meetings with the contractor. The last one was Tuesday.
Just to add a little bit from our side, if I may, we have been in constant discussion with the contractor. We do visit site often, and any findings that they have on the existing buildings are directly and specifically addressed at us. So we tackle them. Anything that comes from site, we address directly and straight away.
Great, thank you, Tudor. Other questions from the committee? Yeah, Councillor Levy, then Councillor Desmond.
Thank you, Chair. Just 3.7.2, scheme is car free and cycle parking is provided. Perhaps the officer can expand a little why blue badge space is not provided. Normally we do. 3.7.2 at the addendum. 3.7.2.
3.7.2. I don't think there is a 3.7.2, is there?
There is no 3.7.
On the addendum.
Oh, on the addendum, sorry. Sorry, my fault.
It's not in the report.
That's 3.7.2 is for item 5, isn't it? Yeah.
Sorry, wrong one. Apologise.
There is, thank you.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Councillor Desmond?
So this is one of the most historic buildings in Clapton, and Clapton, of course, is a historic place with many historic people. But it's a hidden thing, which when I first moved to Clapton in 1986, I was stunned. I'd seen McDonald's, I'd seen various other things, but to see this magnificent building was a big surprise. So it's right and proper, we protect it. I want to just clarify the objective of this, and I'm fully in favour of the application, is for it to be a health centre. What sort of health centre are we talking about? Are we talking about GP's practice? What level of usage will it have? And will the level of usage in any way cause potential damage to the building?
I think you can give background to this if you want, but it's not pertinent to this this item. But
That's exactly it. But it's a community health centre. There will be doctors there and treatment rooms.
okay, just a reminder, that's just on this structural report about whether the works can be done without damaging the portico. Any other questions from the committee? Councillor Young?
Just to check, are other aspects of this coming back to us? I remember when we last saw this, there was a lot of discussion about the air source heat pumps on top of the building and concerns.
Could you bring that? I don't think
So
that's relevant to this.
it's not relevant to this, but I'm just wondering whether other aspects of this development are coming back to us. I can't remember from the last occasion whether we also placed other conditions on it to come back.
There are, and certainly landscaping is one that's coming back. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly which ones they are, but I can email you. a
Okay,
list.
that'd be great.
Yeah, if you want to pick up over email, they can come back with what the conditions are due to come back to us. Other questions? No, I did think the report was really good. I thought it was really useful to get the report and to look at. And as Councillor Desmond said, it is an important building, so we want to make sure we do it properly. So thank you very much for everything that you've brought to us. In that case, if there are no other questions, then we move to a vote. And the vote is on. Let me get the recommendation that condition 16 of listed building consent 2021-1653, dated 4th of April 2021, be discharged. All those in favour, put your hands up. Thank you very much. That's unanimous again. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming. And again, thank you for the work that you've done on it. We have some delegated decisions to move on to. Item 7. The item 7A, 30th of August, 20th of September, there's a new version on your seats. There was a slight formatting error, which meant the document was wrong before, but it's now correct online and correct in the document that's on your seats. We also have 27th of June, 17th of July delegated decisions, and that is the reformatted, i.e. correct documents brought back to us as well. I'm not sure why these keep getting messed up, but it has been noted. Everyone okay with those delegated decisions? Councillor Potter has an issue. The new one is now unissued. Great, or is issued and has no issues. Good. Any other comments, or everyone happy to approve those or note those delegated decisions? Just say noted at me, that'd be great. Thank you. Any other business from, yep?
Just one for me. Obviously, the next meeting is a pre-app meeting. It's at 6:30 and it will be in this room.
Thank you very much. In that case, the next dates of the planning meetings are in item 9, just a note. And then otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, that's the quickest planning committee meeting I've ever been in. So I'm not sure, you know, given the state of the economy, it may or may not be telling, but thank you very much everyone for joining for that. I think 2 important items despite the speed which. So thank you for your questions. Have a good evening. Thank you, and thank you to the officers. Thank you, John.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.